What happens when an actor gets injured during an intense scene but can't communicate the problem to their fellow cast members? This is why safety observers are so important, and the people who act in that capacity are in a tough spot. Is the person injured or in trouble, or are they just putting in an incredible performance? One of the better-known cases of this is Isla Fisher in Now You See Me. This was a situation where an actor could have died while the cameras continued to roll. In one scene early in the film, she performs a water escape in which she is chained to the bottom of the tank. For safety, there was a magnetic release that allowed her to pull on the chain and disconnect it from its attachment point. The tank also had a quick-release lever that could drain all the water from the tank almost instantaneously. Their only mistake was no one bothered to establish a safety signal so Isla could tell the crew she was in trouble. The chain on her ankles got stuck in the slats at the bottom of the tank, and she could not free herself. What everyone thought was a great acting performance was actually an actor in the process of drowning. There was an emergency button for her to press that signaled a safety diver that she was in trouble, but when the chain got entangled, she was unable to reach the button. Fortunately, she managed to get the chain loose before she drowned. L. Thomas Rouse. Tim Meadows broke his wrist before filming started on Mean Girls. In order to explain his bandaged hand, the script was changed to give his character, school principal Mr. Duvall, carpal tunnel syndrome. It was explained in a classic exchange between Mr. Duvall and Ms. Norbury, Tina Fey. Mr. Duvall: so, how was your summer? Ms. Norbury: I got divorced. Mr. Duvall: oh. My carpal tunnel came back. Ms. Norbury: I win. Amy Krista Arnano. At nearly 60, Tom Cruise is still pulling off all the dangerous practical stunts known to man, many of which pose a risk to his life and to his limbs. This particular stunt in Mission Impossible: Fallout, where he leaps towards a ledge, landed him with a broken ankle. Ouch. This wasn't entirely an accident. Cruise was supposed to not quite make it onto the ledge, keeping the action suspenseful for the audience. Wires were also used to ensure safety. Unfortunately, the ankle breaking wasn't part of the plan. However, during the same take, but from another angle, he still manages to haul himself up and keep moving. Even through all the pain, he was sprinting again after 6 weeks in rehab. Kudos to this guy for his dedication to the acting profession. Ryan Phillips. Jackie is notorious for injuring himself whilst filming. Just look at the end credits to many of his movies to see some of the injuries, but one accident almost cost him his life. Depending on where you read about it, one stunt called for him to jump from a cliff/ledge/castle wall and into a tree. The first take went fine, but he misjudged the jump in the second take. He plummeted to the ground and landed head first on some rocks. At first he thought that he was fine, but it turns out that he fractured his skull, and a piece of bone pierced his brain. I believe that this is the stunt that he injured himself in, which clearly shows a wall. A scene from earlier in the day called for him to open a can of beer and take a drink. Multiple takes were filmed, so he could well have been a little tipsy prior to the ill-fated jump. Daniel Carroll. While Tom Cruise might very well be the biggest movie star ever, as daring as he is, leaping tall buildings in a single bound, he can't match dedication with the man I have chosen as the most injured actor in a movie. Then, it's not a fair contest. Nobody this side of heaven can. The Oscars are tomorrow night, and I nominate Jim Caviezel as the actor that has not only been injured in a movie, but the most injured in a movie. During the filming of The Passion of the Christ, the man was accidentally whipped, twice, with a cat o' nine tails, which left a 14-inch scar on his back. During the filming of him carrying the cross, Caviezel was struck in the head with the 150-pound monstrosity, burying his head in the sand. He then bit through his lip, and the blood that was filmed flowing from his mouth was the result of said bite. That's not to mention the fact that he dislocated his shoulder while carrying that big hunk of wood. The worst of it all? The man got struck by lightning while filming the Sermon on the Mount scene. Literal fire came out of the right and left side of his head. Jim said he knew he'd be hit 4 seconds before it happened. This is the most abused and dedicated man in all of cinema. Guys, just so you know, I am not trying to convert anyone with this answer. I know it's a touchy subject to many, and you're free to believe as you wish. I chose Jim Caviezel as my answer because I truly believe nobody went through more while filming just one movie. Totally incredible what the man was put through. Christian fan. During the climactic fight scene in Patriot Games, Harrison Ford accidentally whacked Sean Bean above the left eye with a boat hook, opening a large gash that would require stitches. The blood on Bean's face in the scene is real, and he still has the scar. Also, it wasn't inadvertent, but Sylvester Stallone ended up in intensive care during filming of Rocky IV. Stallone wanted the boxing match between Rocky and Drago to be as authentic as possible, so he instructed Dolph Lundgren to hit him for real. One particularly powerful blow to the chest caused Stallone's heart to slam against his breastbone and subsequently swell. He was rushed to the hospital with labored breathing and skyrocketing blood pressure, and would spend 8 days recovering in the ICU. Note: producer Irwin Winkler said it was actually a stand-in boxer who caused the injury, not Lundgren, and I'm not sure which is true, but the incident is agreed to have actually happened. Amy Krista Arnano. I will not give you physical injuries, I will show you a mental injury, something that is much more difficult to heal and to distinguish whether it exists or does not exist. I'm talking about Adrien Brody. After his work in the film The Pianist, the actor developed a depression that lasted more than a year. Adrien Brody did his best to assume the solemnity of the role. He ended the relationship with his girlfriend, left his apartment and car and moved to Europe. Despite the success of Polanski's film, Brody said he was depressed for more than a year. I've experienced loss, I've experienced sadness, but I don't know the despair that comes with hunger, he said after his performance in the renowned film. Jose Alberto.